Get you, because I'll kick your booty with my tutti frutti.
All right, welcome back to the show, folks. That's right, you got the American Adversaries engrossed in sports radio talk right now. All right, we got Tim on the line who wants to talk about the NASCAR issue here. Tim.
Gentlemen.
Thanks for calling.
Start your engine.
We got them revved up and roaring.
Okay. You know, my opinion is it's one of the last true conservative meeting places. They say the prayer before the race. They don't make the military pay to do the Pledge of Allegiance or the presenting of the colors or do the jet flyovers like the NFL does. They have yet to have a gay day race. Okay? Well, I think what NASCAR is doing is that they're overreacting to the Confederate flag so that they can keep the media from tearing them down on.
Well, Tim, now that you mentioned all that, let me be the first to predict it won't be long before all those things that you just talked about will be gone. They'll be history.
I truly believe that.
Because they have lost track of who they are. They have lost track of the fact that, how should I say, that sometimes being so good that you whip everybody else over and over again ain't such a bad thing. And that they have lost the fact that American ingenuity is what people really appreciated out of NASCAR, not cars going round and round and round and round. And they appreciated all of that homespun stuff that you're talking about that's going to go with the Confederate flag. Because eventually they're going to say, well, you know, why don't we have a gay day? Why don't we? We're alienated all these people out there because we pray before the race. Well, maybe we can do without that. Right? This is the track that NASA is on. No pun intended. Or NASCAR, I'm sorry. And by the way, Johnny pointed out before I forget that the race is Sunday. The Firecracker 400 is Sunday, not Saturday. Anyway, go ahead, Tim.
When we're down, after the Supreme Court this week, and somebody probably put a bug in Bill France's ear, and so he made his statement. One of the most horrific things I saw this weekend was how they just happened to be able to put rainbow colors lights on the White House.
I know. Oh, my Lord, you're so right.
Not only that, but it happened in several other places around the country. They had them on the so-called Freedom Tower up there in New York. They had them shining up the spire up there. Yeah, just coincidence, wasn't it?
Just unbelievable, and, of course, we all pay for it.
Yeah.
But there's one bright star, and the bright star is it's only 139 days before the American Adversaries cruise.
Hey, you're counting them down. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. And by the way, the cabins are going. So, folks, if you want to go on that cruise with us, you might better go ahead and sign up. And you can do that by going to Vacation Travel Planners, and that's vacationtravelplanners.com, or you can call Mary Lee at 321-251-4777. And if you join the American Adversaries Army, you like Tim and like Diane earlier, maybe going for free because you will be eligible to be in a drawing for a free ticket for that cruise. So thanks, Tim. I appreciate you being out there, and thanks for being a member of the American Adversaries Army and going on that cruise with us, whether it's for free or not. I really appreciate that.
Hey, you know something, Chris?
What's that?
I'd really like to see NASA build a NASCAR. I think they could win. I mean,
now that would get some attention.
They're not going to space anymore. Let's build a couple NASCARs.
Yeah, just real quick, and I really do want to move in, but if I were NASCAR, I would be going back to the manufacturers, trying to get the manufacturers back into automobile racing and a true sort of stock car spirit. Because part of the appeal, and you mentioned fan appeal comes from the race car drivers. A lot of it does, but a lot of it doesn't. A lot of the appeal back in the old day came from the cars and the manufacturers. You like the cars as much as the drive. That has all been lost. That's why I say it has been communized. All right,
I agree with you because...
I've got to move on.
Right, I was just going to say I agree with you because if you go to a NASCAR race, you see as many with hats with the driver's numbers on them as with the Chevy logo and the Ford logo. So, there is a lot of brand loyalty there.
Tim, I'll give you the last thought.
Yeah, one of the key points is that you don't see a tremendous amount of drug use, wife beating, crime, etc. from the NASCAR drivers. And if any of that happens, the discipline is so strong that, I mean, these guys really stay in line with their personal lives.
Well, that's
so
true.
Much more than any other sport in the country.
That evidently is true, but as far as the drug policy, they've always had a very strict drug policy, going back to Tim Richmond. I don't know if you guys remember Tim Richmond, but he was a popular driver back in the 70s, I believe, maybe early 80s, and he died of AIDS, and it was because of his womanizing and drug use. So ever since then, they've been very vigilant, because obviously you're dealing with, in any sport, you're dealing, potentially with people's lives, but even more so in automobile racing. So they've been very vigilant. Thank you. Appreciate it, Tim.
Bye-bye.
But I do want to move on because I want to talk a little bit about the bad week that conservatives just had. The liberals had a huge week. By the way, they are promising that the fight is not over. That this gay marriage, this is just the beginning, basically, because many states and the federal government do not have laws protecting them the way they see they should be protected, so they are going to now be demanding those. We got borked, and what I mean by saying that we got borked, I mean by that, do you guys remember who appointed Judge Robert Bork to be on the Supreme Court?
Wasn't it Reagan?
It was Ronald Reagan. Do you all remember what happened to Robert Bork, why he is not on the Supreme Court?
He got borked, but I forget exactly what that meant.
Basically, Ted Kennedy and a bunch of liberals in the Senate and the committee, the Judiciary Committee, as they were cross-examining and persecuting him, raked him over the coals, and basically political correctness won the day. They brought up the fact that he was what they call a strict constructionalist when it comes to the Constitution, which means he reads it very literally. He doesn't read things into it. And he was disapproved. And so guess who was appointed to the Supreme Court to replace Judge Robert Bork?
Stevens.
No,
not Stevens.
Scalia?
No. God, why do I forget this?
Judge Judy?
Just think who has been the swing vote in all.
Kennedy.
Judge Kennedy.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Judge Kennedy. Because he could actually make it through the Judiciary Committee is why he was appointed. One of probably the, shall I say, worst moments of the Reagan presidency. Because we see the result, do we not?
Yeah.
Justice Kennedy has been the one who's been borking us. All right,
Stevens and Roberts.
Well, Stevens is gone. Roberts has done his part borking us, but it's because Robert Bork wasn't able to get through, and there was no scandal about this. This was simply because the liberals did not approve of his judicial philosophy and his judicial temperament. And he was a federal judge, a fine federal judge, one of the most respected in the country. But that started the whole process, you see, of having to be politically correct to sit on the Supreme Court. If you are a conservative, you must pass the litmus test. If you are a liberal, that's all it takes. Because we have people like Lindsey Graham, who are going to vote for Elena Kagan and Sotomayor and whoever else Obama puts up there, because the president has the right to choose. That's part of the, being elected president, is he gets to appoint the Supreme Court justices. Well, that's not the way the liberals see it, Mr. Graham. That's why we got Mr. Kennedy on the court. That's why we keep getting borked. By the way, Lindsey Graham was so disgusting this morning. He was on Meet the Press and being interviewed, and he was just like, we got, he was like a whipped dog. I'm going, what is with it with this guy? What is with it with Republicans?
Well, once you get borked, you never go back.
Carl.
That was actually pretty good. What I was going to say is that I was listening to Rush earlier. Oh, my God. And he said something that I thought was very telling, and he said it was very telling for him. It was a revelation for him. He was speaking to some well-known Republican, if you will, and he said, well, Rush, elections have consequences. And Rush said, well, what do you mean? And he was like, well, we lost the White House, so we need to allow them basically to do, this is what the people want. And Rush was shocked that the guy genuinely believed that, despite the fact that that we won in 2010 and 2014, the Republicans have become completely passive because they're convinced this is what the people want. We need to just let them have this until we get a new president.
Which leads me to where we go in the next segment. We are going to identify the enemy, folks, and it's not liberals. It's not liberals. I'll tell you who it is when we come back.
Can you help me find my way? You're so much older and wiser.
With SRN News.